Welcome to the Aging Adventure on KFOR, brought to you by the Legacy Retirement Communities. I'm Dale Johnson. Every Saturday morning, I am joined by John Kopetsky of Legacy Terrace and Kathy Blythe, radio legend in Lincoln and longtime lover of Lincoln's senior living, going back to 1995 when Jerry Joyce conceived Legacy Retirement Communities as his own mother found herself overwhelmed with demands of home ownership. So good morning, John. Good morning, Kathy.
Hi, Dale.
Good morning, Mr. Dale.
We think of the holidays as being merry and bright, and for most people they are. But for some who have suffered a job loss, the loss of a relationship maybe, even the death of a loved one, this can be a very difficult time of year with no one-size-fits-all way of coping with it. Today on The Aging Adventure, Kathy and John tap into the wisdom and the compassion of grief consultant and author Rachel Kodanaz.
Rachel, it's so nice to have you back with us today. It was 30 years ago when your husband Rod died suddenly and you were left with your 2-year-old daughter to try to navigate your way through life without him. Do you remember your first holidays?
Oh, I remember them so well because I don't even know if I did anything. I just felt, actually, this is a good question. I actually felt lost and confused during that holiday season. I just kind of went through the process. My biggest challenge was, how do I sign my holiday card? Because I used to sign it Rachel, Rod, and Gretchen, and I didn't use my last name because I think if people don't know who Rachel, Rod, and Gretchen is, then what would it look like? And then I didn't know, I wanted to include him. I didn't want to exclude him, so I didn't want to just go with Rachel and Gretchen because then I had to admit that he had passed away. And then I didn't want to switch to what my name was at the time, was Blythe's. I didn't want to switch to that. So I struggled for a while and it kept me up at night. And the other one piece of it, I had no patience, or at least I didn't think I had patience with my daughter. And then my gift was 15 years later, she showed me a video of how I sat on the ground wrapping presents with her, which were empty boxes. And so I guess I did engage, but I don't remember engaging.
How did you end up signing the cards? I'm curious.
I did, Rachel and Gretchen, and I did write this in a couple of my books about how to sign the holiday card. I struggled with it, and then I just got to the point where no one else is going to notice what I write except for me. So I'm spending a lot of sleepless nights, and that's kind of my message through this holiday season is a lot of people don't notice what's going on because they've got their blinders on and they're doing their own thing. But it took me many years to realize that and have that lesson, and I like to share it.
Since that Christmas 30 years ago, you've made it your life's work to help others who are experiencing loss through your consulting and your books. It probably would be normal not to want to participate or attend any events or anything if you've suffered a loss. Looking to the next month and beyond, what's your first recommendation for someone in this situation, how to decide what's best?
What works for you is what's best. And carefully of how to handle that situation is how we get through the holidays. People will push you. People will ask you to come. You for yourself might feel guilty, strong word, but guilty for not attending or have anxieties around attending something. My suggestion to you is to, before we even get rolling, you made it through one holiday, we've made it through Thanksgiving, but before you get to the next round of holidays, and not just the day of maybe a Christmas or a Hanukkah, which we're in the middle of, but more so there's a lot of parties and gatherings that are not just on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And to set the boundaries of what works for you and to be honest to yourself. If you're not ready to be in that group, please try to find a way to say no. But I do have some ideas of how to say yes, even though you're not comfortable.
Give us some of those ideas on how to say yes.
Well, there are a couple things is that to walk into someone's door, you need to feel comfortable. And when you have a loss or your things aren't going as perfect in your life as you want them to be, for me is to be able to walk into that door is try not to walk in alone. So whether you're walking in, and that's the beauty of these phones because you could text and say I'm at the door. But if you are going to an event and you're not comfortable and you want a protector, somebody that will be by your side and that will help you and actually will help you walk to the door if you need to walk to the door. In other words, provide you oxygen while you're there. Make that arrangement in advance. Find out if the host is saying I'm having an event on Wednesday night, ask her for the guest list and pick 2 or 3 people from that guest list and text them or contact them in advance and say, I'm not in the best place right now, but I'd really like to join in. Would you guys mind either driving with me, meeting at the door, or kind of just hold me up a little bit while I'm there? And I could pretty much guarantee that they would be honored to help you. So just don't walk in that door alone.
Do you have some other recommendations on communicating to others what would be good for you, what you're comfortable with, maybe what you're not comfortable with?
Well, thank you, Kathy, for that question. When you have a loss of a loved one, you do want to hear their name, but I know that the person that is on the other side that hasn't had the loss, when you walk into an event, they're not going to feel comfortable saying anything about their person that you lost because they're afraid they're going to set you off. But at the end of the day, you're set off anyway every minute of every day. So having someone else do it, we're afraid of how to react to people. I feel comfortable, and maybe because talk about this every day, is I feel comfortable saying, I'm really sorry that Scott's not here with us tonight. He is in spirits. Could you share one of your holiday gathering ideas? But not everybody's going to be comfortable saying that. So when you ask me, are there any other ideas? I just think that if you walk in and you have a little bit of a 2-line sentence of how you're going to respond to everybody or anybody, like when they say, how are you? Just, have that 2-line. We're blending old memories with new memories this holiday season. Would you like to know some of them? Or maybe somebody will ask you about them. But start off by not being defensive, offering not a yes/no answer, more of an open-ended answer or open-ended question so that it's not awkward. And just try to, the goal would be to take away some of the awkwardness.
This is such valuable information, Rachel, and we're so glad to have more to come with you on the Aging Adventure today, brought to you by the Legacy Retirement Communities.
Thanks for being with us this morning on the Aging Adventure, brought to you by the Legacy Retirement Communities. I'm Dale Johnson with John and Kathy. The holidays are memorable, but for people coping with grief or loss, it is a challenging time of year. That's where we left off this morning with grief consultant and author Rachel Kodanaz.
Rachel, before the break, we were talking about hints for people who have recently suffered a loss and how to interact with people during the holiday season. Let's turn the tables there, and let's say our listeners know somebody who has suffered a loss. What suggestions could you give them to properly interact with and support that person who has suffered a loss recently?
Well, most importantly, don't exclude them because you're afraid to ask. That would be my number one thing, is that they're lonely enough. They don't know how to enter the holiday season, and they're scared and they're lonely and they're missing their loved one. So it's easy sometimes when you're having an event, you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings by having them come or pushing them too hard to come. But I would say err on the side of include, and if they choose not to include, just let it go. The other thing is when they say they don't want to come, then I would suggest you could do a tiny little push, but don't push too hard. Or, simply say, I'll change your mind. I'm going to call you the day before and see how you're feeling about it. I do believe that we should continue to invite, even though it might be a little bit on the awkward side. So that's one idea. I mean, I could offer others if you're interested in them.
Absolutely.
So mention the person's name. So just say that we would love you to come, but we're sorry that Susan won't be with us this year. Maybe you can ask them up front before you come to the event, can you share with me some of the boundaries that you feel comfortable with? Like, do you want to sit with, so if it's a sit down, do you want to know the guest list? Like, ask some questions that make them feel like, okay, this won't be so hard to enter the door. So giving a little side of hope, but mostly giving a little side of comfort.
Rachel, you also talk about some things that might hit you wrong when you hear them. If you're the grieving person, everybody means well no matter whatever they choose to say, and different people can react different ways. It's really about the reaction, isn't it?
It is about the reaction. And for somebody that has a similar loss, the things that I would say, like maybe you should or shouldn't do something, which are the worst words out there, but that you should or shouldn't do something, they're going to honor my ideas because they know that I'm a protector of them because I walked their journey. But it's really hard when you are not a griever and you are communicating with someone that's grieving and you're inviting them to compare stories, or I did this the first time when I was able to do something. This was the first time when I was able to go out, how I felt, and just comparing that way.
So acknowledging that you've been there and you know something of how they feel, but not telling them how they should feel.
Correct, but maybe carefully telling them how they feel, because I'm really concerned about comparing stories. So it has to be delicate in the sense of softly, like, maybe this could work, or, carefully that this did work for me, but don't push it. Be very soft with it. If they're searching for ideas. If they're not searching for ideas, then just kind of let them take the lead of what their comfort level is.
And I know you have said before that many people have a problem when somebody else says, I know how you feel, even though they have experienced the death of a loved one. Everybody's grief is different. And as Dale said at the beginning, not one size fits all.
And we don't know what happens behind someone's front door. So we don't know what they did sometimes before the holidays. We don't know with their financial situation. We don't know if they're having, difficult relations right now with other family members. We don't know anything. So to consider to think that I know how you would feel about something, Kathy, is crazy, unless you told me exactly how you feel and I interpret it correctly.
Rachel, before we go to break, let's take a little bit of time to have you review your books for us, a little capsule version. Of course, I'm a great fan of your writing, and I have found it to be very comforting in my own life and comforting to other people that I've gifted with your book. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Thank you, Kathy, and I'm going to threaten to make you my marketing manager. But my one book is Living with Loss One Day at a Time. It's actually a perfect opportunity for this time of year and going into the first of the year because it's 365 lessons and thoughts and loss. And sometimes I'm really nice to the readers and let them sit on the couch and eat bonbons and watch bad TV, and other days that they have to do something out of the house. Each day suggests something new. And the whole notion of it is to work through your loss in more of a, organic way rather than being told from the top of how you should be working through your loss. Great gift, as well as for both the griever and somebody that's supporting a griever, opportunity on each page to take notes. My latest book, Finding Peace One Piece at a Time, What to Do with Yours and Your Loved One's Possessions, is exactly that, is what do you do with all the belongings that tell so many stories and provide connection? And in there, I talk about sorting, thinning, and repurposing these items and maintaining a connection to them. So both of them are holiday gifts. On my website, which I'm sure you guys will share later, is I have, for the holidays, I have a two-part, I put them together for a discount, and then I send them with gift cards if that's appropriate.
Excellent. All right. And we'll send them to your website at rachelkodanaz.com, KODANAZ.com. And we'll be right back on The Aging Adventure, brought to you by the Legacy Retirement Communities.
Just a few minutes left on The Aging Adventure, brought to you by the Legacy Retirement Communities on KFOR. Kathy and John are talking with grief consultant and author Rachel Kodanaz about coping with grief or loss during the holidays.
Rachel, it's no secret. I think that the holidays can be a very stressful time for everybody, even those who aren't suffering from loss. And it's really important to take care of ourselves during this holiday season, but particularly for somebody who's grieving a loss, maybe for the first time or the second Christmas in a row. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, the first thing that I want to suggest to the listeners is that people say awkward things and they respond in ways that you weren't expecting. And I just want to make sure that you understand that people aren't by nature mean. They just don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. And as they say things that might maybe set you off a little bit, try really hard not to become defensive, because they really do mean well. And when they push a little bit too hard for you to smile, to be happy, to be engaging, just do the best you can and try not to get, aggravated with them, or because the person that's going to lose in the end, if you get aggravated, is you, because you're the person that's going to get upset, and they're just going to go on to their next plate of food or their next cocktail, and they'll say, oh, Rachel was a little awful. She was here, but I tried my best. So you, as the person that is grieving or the person that is feeling uncomfortable, please understand that people really mean well, and to be careful around you, how you feel about their comments. But really, to take care of yourself during the holidays, you have to allow yourself to feel the emotions. If you put a wall up and don't let those emotions in, or try to hide them, or try to manipulate them, again, you're going to be the person that loses, because you're the one that's going to be upset. Let them come in waves. Maybe go for a walk, maybe call someone you trust when you've got that wave of over too much emotions, maybe somebody that really gets you, that can share something that could bring you back down a little bit. But do allow yourself to feel the emotions. And an important piece is to plan ahead. Try not to get yourself caught off guard with either an event. Maybe there's a white elephant gift, and a party or something that you're joining, and you didn't know that there was a white elephant gift. So try to plan ahead and understand what you're signing up for and what you're doing, because that way, again, you're not caught off guard, but you're also you don't put yourself into, I feel bad I didn't this, or why did I miss that email? So choose, if you've got 10 events, choose maybe 3 or 4 of them that are appropriate for you, and figure out exactly what's happening at those events, so you're not caught off guard. Like, am I going to sit at a table with strangers? Am I going to just kind of learn a little bit about that, and truly focus on what you have control over. What you don't have control over, just let it pass by. I'm not good at it on a good day, so being in an uncomfortable position, it just makes it even that much harder. But if you have no control over it, i.e. weather, i.e. a comment that somebody else makes, just try your best to let them go.
You also talk about expressing kindness to others.
I do. There's, as I said, to prepare for a range of emotions, I believe that expressing kindness to other people will help you. If you decide to make a batch of cookies and you bring it to somebody that has supported you through this loss, you just giving that to them is a form of thank you, and it's a form of a connection, and it's a form of gratitude. And what you do get a little bit warm fuzzies in your belly, knowing that you're giving to somebody else rather than just taking. When I lost my husband in the first couple of months, probably a couple of years, I felt everything out of my mouth was a favor. And so maybe you, in your loss, that you're asking for a lot of favors, you're asking for a lot of breaks on some things, and being able to be kindness to others, whether it's sending a thank you note, whether it's maybe making a batch of cookies, maybe it's ordering and sending a special gift, whatever it is, but acknowledging the holidays in a giving and not just receiving way.
Rachel, we just have a couple minutes left. Can you give us your best thoughts to take into our day and beyond through the holidays?
Thank you, Kathy, for that question. So for me, I would say to blend the old and the new traditions. So as you go into the holiday season, no matter what your situation is like that brought you on this call today to listen, blend old and new. If you are somebody that is experiencing a loss of job, loss of a family member, loss of finances, just bring some of your old traditions and add something new so you're excited about it. As with those that are really experiencing the loss, is that not only do they bring their loved one to the table in any which way, whether it's favorite foods, whether it's pictures, however it is, but also create new so you don't feel that emptiness that you might feel based on past holidays together.
And still, you are remarried now, and still you bring Rod, your husband, into the holidays, even 30 years after his passing.
Oh, I bring him into everything, because there's such great traditions, but there's also just love. I mean, we don't get rid of grandma. So why, grandma brings foods for centuries and centuries. So why not bring whatever person you have lost or whatever your experience, keep them right there with you, because they'll always be remembered. And I just love, I mean, I talked, I think recently with you or at a different program, that my mother had these pilgrim candlesticks for Thanksgiving, and we bring them, she's been gone for 17 years, and we bring them to every Thanksgiving table.
Beautiful thoughts, great wisdom. You've helped so many people, Rachel, and you helped a lot of us today, too. Thank you so much for sharing with our listeners, and we'll be in touch with you in the future.
I look forward to it, and happy holidays to everybody.
And to you as well.
Thank you, Rachel. John, where can listeners go to find out more about legacy retirement communities?
You can call us at 402-436-3000 or our website, legacyretirement.com.
Kathy, happy holidays. Every Saturday morning, join us for the Aging Adventure, brought to you by the Legacy Retirement Communities. I'm Dale Johnson.